You throw away unnecessary one, but keep the main idea. Example, if the input is 256, what's my pen? What's my pen? So, if think of the shrinking while extracting import detail, the input image passes through convolutional layers. Think of this shrinking the image while extracting important details. The input image passes through the convolutional layers and pooling layers, which is progressively reduce the spatial. Using Caligari analogy, imagine summarizing a book. You throw away unnecessary word but keep the main ideas. Example, if the input is 256 multiple times 256 times 3 image, the encoder might reduce it to 32 multiplied by 3 by 1 to keeping the essence but losing spatial details. The decoder sampling. Instead of pooling layers to gradually increase the spatial dimension, the decoder essentially receives what the decoder did, producing a pixel-wise classification. Analogy: imagine zooming on an blurry image. I tries to fill in missing details based on what did layer. Example: if the encoder shrink the image, the decoder expanded back to size. Skip connection shortcut path. A major problem with upsampling is that some fine details get lost. Skip connection helps to directly link earlier encode layers to late decoded layers, ensuring the network doesn't forget fine grained spatial information. Already imagine writing a long search paper, and instead of relying only on your memory, you frequently check your original notes to ensure accuracy. Example, the FCN model uses skip systems, making them more efficient backbone of modern segmentation and deep lab DNA variable relegation.
eToro představuje Jak investovat do akcií za 30 sekund. Otevřete aplikaci, klikněte na položku Objevit, vyberte akci a stiskněte tlačítko Obchod. Nastavte částku nebo jednotky.
If you're trading for the flashy lifestyle, you're going to fail. The truth is, you're not going to be able to compete.
Introducing Remarkable Paper Pro, the ultimate paper tablet. With an all-new canvas color display, unmatched precision, and microscopic pen-to-ink distance. Featuring an immersive 11.8-inch display, protected and personal. The future of paper is here. Remarkable.
When I unboxed this Remarkable Paper Pro, I started using it for about 5 minutes. I asked myself, why in the world did I just spend so much money on this device? Quite frankly, as soon as I started using this device, a couple limitations came to mind that I hadn't really thought about before I purchased it. Namely, that there is no capacity for Kindle books on this, which means my entire Kindle library is basically useless on this, and no audiobooks. So same goes for my Audible library. But with those out of the way, how does the rest of this device fare? Now, I got the Remarkable Paper Pro with the upgraded pen because I learned with my Kindle Scribe last year that I did actually want the upgraded pen, but I was too cheap to shell out for the keyboard, which I would have liked to have tested, but just in principle, I didn't want to pay something like $800 for this e-ink setup. I also did not go for Remarkable's folio case because I did not want to pay for that either. So instead I found a pretty good option on Amazon that actually fits like a glove, and I don't even remember the brand, but I'll leave a link down in the description. Highly recommend this because I just did not feel confident putting this in a bag without a case on, and this thing fits just perfectly. I love it. It's great. But let's talk about my experience with this thing. This has great, incredibly high quality, even down to the textures of the screen and the material of the pen. I'm just a big fan. And there's something just about that kind of grippy material on the pen that just makes it feel super high quality. The writing experience is really good, and it's a very satisfying experience all around. Now, with that being said, the magnets in the stylus are still liable for failing, but it was actually previous devices, so next generation and Kindle Paperwhite. So there's no is an entire much, but for a device this expensive, it's a little bit surprising. And then there's no fine tune adjustments for the backlight intensity. It's 0 through 5 in terms of the intensity, so you have 6 different options. Again, just reviews say like, yeah, it's kind of cool, but kind of not necessary. And I agree. I think it genuinely is useful. I think color sticks in the brain better. I think it's just a better experience, especially for students if you're doing a lot of highlighting in different colors. Is it worth the extra cost? Maybe, maybe not. I think it's a cool feature to have, and I think it's better than not having it. And I'm not a graphic novel or graphic comic user, but I think that if you are, this is a pretty cool experience. I can't compare it to any other color e-ink devices. I don't have any others. I don't have the new Kindle Colorsoft, but it seems pretty good to me. My expectations are the entire stroke that you just did. Otherwise, you just have to choose between 3 erase sizes, or you can select something.
Did not.
I have to finish writing this paper. I'm swamped.
Just get Grammarly. It's free.
Can it help with what I wrote last night?
Grammarly will catch.
Pokud vás We're the good guys.
I've got to start with this. So
If you're kind of trying to get started in the SMMA space, it is so. My number one advice would be take it over to AI. My whole entrepreneurial journey started with social media marketing agency, so I just felt like I was sprinting, and eventually I slipped and I fell off, and that company went bankrupt.
You've become an expert level of what, a $250,000 worth of compensation per year, or up to that within one of these roles within the space of a few months. You literally have an engineer in your title. Never been an engineer before.
I finally found a way to create things, create voice bots within 15-20 minutes, and I became an expert in that field.
Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel, and today we have a very special guest, Will, a member of my accelerator, who's gone from a college dropout with a struggling SMMA with zero coding experience to landing a job as the chief solutions engineer at one of the top AI voice startups in the world. So, Will, thank you for coming on.
Libraries over applying such algorithm with this prior performance probability requires considerable experience and deeper knowledge of the underlying ideas and algorithm. We will now look STEM. STEM in more detail, which is there will be foundation for discussing probabilistics model that suggests and explore the decision of the basis gradient descent, linear regression and gradient descent. Linear regression is usually taught in high school, but my hope is that this book will provide a new appreciation for the subject and associated matter. It is simple from the machine learning, and while linear regression seems limited in scope, your method still has some practical revenue. These many problems are at least locally still have some practical relevance.
Hi there. I just want to share how thrilled I am.
Hello.
Hello, Ahmed. How's it going?
Doing great. Could you please tell me like what's the uses for the linear regression and the gradient descent?
Sure. Linear regression is used to model the relationship between a dependent variable and one or more independent variables. It's commonly used for prediction and forecasting. Gradient descent is an optimization algorithm used to minimize the cost function in machine learning models, including linear regression. It iteratively adjusts the model parameters to reduce the difference between predicted and actual values. Is there a specific application you're looking into?
No, just I want to know the things in general.
Got it. If you have any other topics you want to dive into, just let me know.
Yeah, I'm currently reading about the linear regression and gradient descent. So,
That's great. Linear regression and gradient descent are foundational concepts in machine learning. If you need any help or have questions while you're reading, feel free to ask.
what's the difference between supervised and unsupervised learning?
In supervised learning, models are trained on labeled data, meaning the input data comes with corresponding correct outputs. The goal is for the model to learn the mapping from inputs to outputs and make predictions on new data. In unsupervised learning, the model is given data without explicit labels. It tries to find patterns, structures, or relationships in the data on its own, such as clustering similar items together. Does that help clarify things?
What is the mean square error?
The mean squared error, MSE, is a measure of the average squared difference between the predicted values and the actual values. It essentially quantifies.
Yeah, sorry, once more. Hello. Hello.
Hi there. I just want to share how thrilled.
Hello.
Hey there. How can I help you today?
Yeah, so what's the mean square error once more?
Mean squared error, MSE, is a metric used to measure the average of the squares of the errors, which are the differences between predicted and actual values. It's a way to quantify how well a model's predictions match the actual data, with lower values indicating better performance. Does that clarify it for you?
What is the hyperparameter? Hello, buddy. You might want to initialize empty array to store the values for the loss function in each iteration. We also set the update learning rate to a small value and then perform 10 iteration to update the parameters W1 and W2 with a gradient descent rule. Note that an index of the array with the value -1 indicate the last element in the Python array as a result of this program is shown into the bit of the function showed and take 5.2 does not look right at all to see what is gone. According it is good to plot the values of loss function as shown in figure. As can be seen, the loss function gets bigger, not smaller as we would have expected, and the values itself are extremely large. prediction step y equal 1 estimator plus size step by step pricing as well. Net lending rate is too large. The reason that this can happen is illustrated in figure 5.2. This graph is cartoon. This loss service update is to the large gradient can overshoot the minimum values. In such cases, the loss of the next step can be even larger since the normal distribution point is also higher. This favorite step can the losses bound in the value will soon exceed the values represented in the computer. So let's try it again with the much smaller learning rate of alpha 0, which is all chosen after several trials to get what look like the best result. The result shown in figure 5 to look much better, although also not right. The very careful does not seems to be balanced. Data point rule and while the loss values decreases at first rapidly, they seem to get stuck at the small value. To look more closely at what is going on, we can plot the losses function of similar values around our expected values of the variable. This is shown in figure 5.2. This reveals the change of the losses function with respect to the parameters W2 is larger, but that changes the parameter W2 on the same scale has little influence on the losses values. The same scale has a little influence on the loss function value. This problem we would have to change the learning rate for each parameter, which is not practical in higher models. There are much more sophisticated solutions such as normalize the data so that the range are between 0 and 1. Thus, by adding the code and setting the learning rate to alpha 0.04, we got the solution shown in figure 5.2. The solution is much better, although the learning path is still not optimal. However, this is a solution that is sufficient most of the time. Listening, linear regression, at size, at size, minimum size. What is that supposed to mean? So the given equation perform minimum maximum normalization technique used to scale numerical data between 0 and 1. Understand minimum and maximum normalization. The equation h size equal h size minus minimum h size max. It's price. What does this do? Transform data to fit within a range of 0 to 1. Perceive a relation between data points while avoiding large differences in scale. Um, why normalize data? Ensure features have the same scale. Helps gradient descent coverage faster. Prevents large features from dominating. If one feature, example house size, has a value in 1,000 and another example a number of rooms is a single digit, it could distort model learning, improves model performance. Many machine learning program algorithm perform better on normalized data. Example calculation. Imagine we have a house size. So we had this set of data. Find minimum and maximum. Easy. Minimum, and maximum, the maximum. Apply minimum, maximum normalization. So in the first equation, we took the highest normalization, which is the application of this equation, h size, minimum size. So this is the h size. We will start with 1000 minus 1000, and we have the max minus minimum. The max and minus minimum, this is gonna be fixed, 3000, 2000, yeah. So 1000, the second one, 1000 minus 1000. Then we will move to 2000, then to 3000, that size. So new scale data 0, 0.25, 0.5, 0.75, and 1, which is the 1000 and the one missing. Okay. When we use minimum and max normalization, one feature have a different scale. When using a gradient descent based models, example linear regression, neural networks, when maintaining relative descent between data points is important. Would you like Python code example to normalization data? No, I don't think so. I'm gonna do these things now. So advanced gradient optimization learning. Learning in machine learning means finding parameters of the model W that minimize the loss function. There are many methods to minimize. So what is the loss function? Loss function is mathematical function that measure how wrong a model prediction are. It's quantify the differences between the predicted output and the actual true output. The goal of training machine learning model is to minimize this loss. Analogy. Imagine you are shooting arrows at the target. This further your the farther your arrow lands from the say correct answer, the higher your loss. A good loss function ensures that over time your model learns to hit the uh, bullseye as accurately as possible. Mathematical definition, a loss function, yeah. Now actual one, the predicted value, output single number represented the error. Types of loss function. Okay, there are type of loss function. The loss function for regression, predicting continuous value and mean square error, the one that we studied here. For problem like predicting house price, temperature, or stock prices, common loss function. Parameter mean squared. We have reviewed this one. Measure the average square differences between actual and predicted values, large errors and penalized more than small ones due to squaring. When to use, works well for most regression problem, sensitive to outliers because large errors are squared. Okay, so sensitive to outliers because the large errors are squared, so we double the error. Mean absolute error. Measure the absolute differences between actual and predicted value, less sensitive to outline than MSE, when to use, when you want to simpler model, compatible loss function, if you want to treat small and large errors equally, hyper loss, combine MSE and MAE, behave like MSE for a small error, smooth optimization, behave like MAE for a large, less sensitive to outliers, what to use, loss function. SVMP used to support vector machine. We had, I know this one. Loss function, phys cost function. Loss function measure error for a single example. Cost function, the average loss over the entire dataset. So the loss, it should be the predicted, the given value minus the predicted squared. The cost function as is it the average, so the average for this one from all the data. How loss function is used in training. The model made a prediction, the value. The loss function computes the error. Gradient descent adjust the model parameters to minimize the loss. The process repeats until the loss stop decreasing. So the process repeated until the loss stop decreasing. Summary regression, loss function, MSE, MAE, mean absolute, mean squared, hyper loss. For classification, we have hyper, we have a cross entropy, and we have hinge loss. Use cases, standard regression when handling outliers for the mean absolute, hybrid of MSE and MAE, which is mixed between both of them, neural network, probabilistic output, and SVM classification. What next? Okay, cool. So, learning machine learning means finding parameter of the model what minimize the loss function. There are many methods to minimize a function, and each one would constitute a learning algorithm. However, the work in machine learning is usually some form of gradient descent algorithm that we encountered earlier. Formally, the basic gradient descent minimizes the sum of the losses values over all the training examples, which is called the patch algorithm. So what is the patch algorithm? As all training example build the patch for minimization, let us assume we have training process a dataset in a fixed size chunk or patches. So a dataset in fixed size chunk. Instead of handling one data point at one time, this is particularly useful for optimizing and training deep learning models where the batching helps speed up training and improve efficiency. Type of patch algorithm, we have patch gradient descent, full patch, update weight after computing gradient over the entire dataset, more accurate but slower for large dataset, when to use, when the dataset is small, when exact governance is important. Stochastics gradient descent, I don't know what's that mean.
Stochastic.
Stochastic gradient descent. Update weight after processing each individual data points, noisy update but faster learning. Many patch gradient descent, process subset of patch in dataset before updating weights, balance efficiency, data rich and noise reduction, when to use, standard choice for deep learning, when we want to trade. Set what is algorithm A, There are multiple algorithms named algorithm A in different contexts. In research, algorithm A can refer to heuristic search algorithm used in AI pathfinding. The 2A in optimization algorithm A might refer to batch processing algorithm of learning in game theory, some game solving approach. As a reference to iterative minimizations. Do you want Python implementation? As all training examples within the past minimization, let's assume that we have training data, then gradient descent, iterate the equation, the iteration for the equation. Where n is the number of training sample. We can also write this compactly for all parameters using vector notation and Nabla operator, which is this one. Okay, as with a sufficiently small learning rate, alpha, this will result in strictly training process where the loss function or error can decrease over the time as the model learn. Why does this happen in machine learning? The machine curve represent how well more learning over the time. If the learning curve decrease, example in gradient descent. What if the learning curve is not monotonically decreasing? If the loss function fluctuates, it could mean the learning rate is too high, causing the model to overshoot. The model is stuck in the local minimum. The dataset is noisy, causing unstable training. Example in Python, I don't need that. Key takeaways, monotonically decreasing learning curve equal loss keep dropping over the time indicates good training. The model is improving. If it's not monotonic, check learning rate or data issues. However, with many training data, a large number of training examples have to be kept in memory. Also, batch learning seems unrealistic biologically or in situation where training examples only arrive over the period of time. So-called online algorithms that use in the training data when they arrive are therefore often desirable. The online gradient descent would consider only one training example at all time, and then use another training example for another update. If the training example appear randomly in such an example wise trainings, then the training example provide a random workaround. The true gradient descent. This algorithm is hence called the gradient stochastics. Gradient descent. It can be seen as an approximation of the basic gradient descent algorithm, and the randomness has been positive in this one to avoiding stuck in a local minimum. So what is the gradient descent? So stochastic. I'm not sure if I'm pronounced that correctly, but I'm gonna find out. Yeah.
Stochastics.
Stochastic gradient descent. It's I think I have read this one. No, this is An optimization used to machine learning variant. Nevertheless, it can be seen as an approximation of the basic gradient descent algorithm, and the randomness has been positive effect on the descent algorithm and avoiding escalation or getting stuck in a local to minimize randomness has been a positive effect on the search paths, such as avoiding and getting stuck in a local minimum. In practice, it is now common to do something between using so-called minimum patch of the gradient descent, but it combines the advantages of the patch algorithm with the reality of limited memory capacities. Gradient descent is known as a very efficient local optimizer. It can often be observed that such an algorithm leads to steep decline of the loss values before learning seems to slow down. One problem with the algorithm is that it can, strictly speaking, only find local, as illustrated in figure 5.6. An analogy would be to think about a ball rolling downhill on the loss surface. With the basic gradient descent, we are always strictly going downhill. However, with the real ball, we would have momentum so that the ball could overcome a small hill if the momentum is great enough to incorporate momentum into gradient descent algorithm. We can modify the updates so that we can some percentage of the previous step into the account. This is the parameters, illustration of gradient descent with the local minima A. This is the data, a momentum term of the common circuit values, but such hyperparameters of the algorithm are of course problem dependent and need to be evaluated on a case by case basis. Local minima have offered minimum stages as minimum different for gradient descent, although true local minima are increasingly difficult to realize in higher dimension. To be a true local minimum, it is necessary that all chains and all combination of chains of all direction of the parameters lead to large loss value. It is clear that with increasing dimensions, there is therefore an increasing chance to find an escape route. However, even so, it is now known that true local minima are not likely to be the problem with the most high-dimensional learning scenarios. Saddle point or least shallow. Areas of loss function seems to present a problem in many applications. A momentum term is a common way to help with such shallow areas. There are additional techniques in a common use today. For example, we can change the learning rate based on the history of the learning performance, and such adaptive learning rates are now commonly used. For example, a very popular algorithm is ADME optimizer. Adaptive Moment Estimate Optimizer. The ADM optimizer is one of the most popular optimizers that are used in machine learning and deep learning. It is an advanced variance gradient descent that adapts the learning for parameters individually, making tiering more efficient. Why do we need ADM? Or Adam, we can call it Adam. Traditional STD has a fixed learning rate, alpha, which can be lead to slow convergence if alpha is too small, overshooting if alpha is too large, difficult handling sparse data when some features are much more important than others. Adam solved these issues by combining momentum, help smooth updates like rolling average, adaptive learning rate, adjust learning rate for each parameters individually. So, optimizer random standards for adaptive moment estimation, which is slightly modification of the moment method. Instead of strictly using the last entry of the gradient descent of the moment, the RM method uses sliding average of the gradient descent, as well as the variance of the gradient. The modulate the update with the gradient model. The parameters are thereby updating accordingly to these equations, where the small factor is added to prevent possible division by zero. The small factor is added to prevent possible division by zero. There are more advanced variation for gradient descent method in use. For example, it is possible to There are more advanced variation of gradient descent method in use. For example, it is possible to take into account higher order gradient terms that describe the curve through of the loss function, while this requires the calculation of the higher derivatives, or in general, the Hessian. It will allow much larger learning rate parameter that will speed up the learning. One of the best variation of this method is the natural gradient that tries to keep the improvement in the loss values for each iteration constant by describing the curves in spanned by the white values. While we are not discussing this advanced method here in more detail, I would like to close this section by pulling out that the gradient method because not the only minimizing decisions that can be applied to machine learning. As an example, let's us consider a simple version of the generic algorithm for this one. Genome. Each candidate Yes, as I thought, like I can go through all these topic, but I believe I need to just go to study the mathematical background, which is the algebra, calculus. I think that I have collected yesterday in the roadmap. So linear calculus, probability statistics, and optimization, which is the gradient descent, this one non-covariance optimizer, multiplier.
In this video, I'm going to share with you 30 tips to make your experience with ChatGPT better, even if
We all know how important music is, but also how difficult it is to create and to find copyright.
In this video, I'm going to share with you 30 tips to make your experience with ChatGPT better. Even if you've used ChatGPT for some time, you might not know everything. So fire up your ChatGPT and follow along. Let's get right to it. Tip number 1, break down your complex prompts into smaller chunks. A lot of people think, hey, I will just throw everything at ChatGPT in one go. Bad move. When you pack too much into one prompt, you usually end up with results that are, well, all over the place. ChatGPT is good, but it's not a mind reader. It can get tangled up in a long, messy prompt with too many instructions at once. So go step by step, start with one question or instruction, get a response, make any tweaks you need, and then move on to the next step, building off what you just got. Yeah, it takes a bit more time, but trust me, the results are so much better. Instead of micromanaging every little mistake, you're getting smooth, logical responses that build naturally. Divide and conquer. All right, number 2 coming in hot. This trick is like giving ChatGPT a job title and a personality at the same time. Just tell it to act like or imagine it's someone specific, and boom, it shifts into that role. So let's say you need a breakdown on ionic bonds. Instead of just asking a generic question, tell ChatGPT, imagine you are a chemistry teacher who was nominated for a Nobel Prize, and I'm your student trying to understand ionic bonds. And now you're getting that next level nerdy teacher vibe in the response. This works for pretty much anything. Want ChatGPT to think like a marketing pro or maybe an event planner? Just ask it to step into the role, and the responses get way more focused, relevant, and professional. You've got a mini army of experts ready to go, so use it. Tip number 3, here we go. Be sure to rename your chats for better organization. If you're using ChatGPT regularly, your chat history probably looks like a hot mess. We've all been there. Renaming keeps things organized, so you know which chats are golden and which ones were just quick throwaways. Click on that little rename button, type in something that actually describes the convo, and you're set. And hey, don't be afraid to delete the old chats. Keeps things tidy, and honestly, you will find what you need a lot faster. Let's move on to tip number 4, use natural language. Gone are the days when you had to talk to ChatGPT like you are programming a robot. These days, just type like you're talking to a person. No more funky prompt structures or keywords. Just say what you need, like you're asking a friend. Want ChatGPT to write a summary or explain something, just say it how you would normally, and it will pick up on your vibe. One thing to remember though, be descriptive. The more detail you give, the better the response. If you've got specific requirements, don't hold back. And if ChatGPT's answer needs a bit of tweaking, just say it directly. Hey, can you make this simpler? Or add more examples. Super straightforward. When we first started using ChatGPT in my YouTube agency, it was a bit of a pain. We had a whole system of prompts with tons of variations. Wasn't pretty, let me tell you. But now we distill it all to just 10, 15 prompts that cover all our needs. And all those new prompts are written in natural language. And for number 5, use temporary chats. Click here and enable temporary chat. Think of this like incognito mode for ChatGPT. When you start a temporary chat, any anything you say in there isn't saved to ChatGPT's memory and it won't affect future responses. It's ideal for when you are handling sensitive info or just don't want the chat sticking around. But this isn't for anything sketchy. It's more for, say, brainstorming ideas or confidential project or discussing personal matters. And when you're done, just close it out and you're back to normal. Easy and private. All right, halfway to 10. Tip number 6. Turn on custom instructions. Click here, settings, personalization, click on custom instructions, and now you've got 2 fields to fill out. The first is all about you. This is where you can add context about your background, preferences, or specific needs. It's like setting the stage so ChatGPT knows exactly what you are about right off the bat. Just remember, no sensitive info like credit card numbers. Keep it relevant, like your writing style or what kind of help you're looking for. And then there's the second field, actual instructions for how ChatGPT should behave. So here you can specify anything, how you want responses structured, particular tone, even how ChatGPT should handle certain types of questions. If you need a deep dive into custom instructions, check out our full guide, 30 minutes of everything you need to know. Number 7 is a good one. Clear ChatGPT's memory. If ChatGPT's responses are getting a bit weird or off track, it might be because there's too much clutter in its memory. Over time, ChatGPT can start collecting conflicting info, which messes with its ability to respond accurately. So from time to time, you should go into settings, personalization, click on clear ChatGPT's memory. Doing this once a month keeps responses consistent and avoids any memory overload weirdness. You often ask me, where are all the tools you talk about? Look, I have a website where we post our reviews of most tools we test. All tools are handpicked and hand-tested, so all reviews are on point. I will leave a link in the description for you. Tip number 8, pick a voice that you like. ChatGPT can actually respond verbally and narrate its responses, but not everyone wants to use the default voice. To make your experience a bit more personal, go to speech in settings and pick another voice. There's a range of voices, each with a different tone and style, so you can find one that feels a bit more like your ChatGPT. It's a small change that can make a big difference if you're using it a lot. Coming in at number 9, if you work with sensitive or confidential data all the time but want your chats to remain active, turn off improve for everyone. In settings, head over to data controls, improve the model for everyone. Switching this off keeps your chat stored locally in your account so you can pick up right where you left off. The key here is that your info stays private. Nothing gets shared back to OpenAI's model training. Perfect if you're working on confidential projects but still want all the convenience of safe chats. Let's hit double digits with tip 10. Connect your Google Drive or OneDrive so ChatGPT can pull directly from your files. Just go to settings, then connected apps, and log into your account when prompted. Here's a quick tip to keep things smooth. Give your files clear, descriptive names and organize them in folders with labels that make sense. That way, when ChatGPT pulls a file, it knows exactly what it's working with. The workflow in my YouTube agency is set up in such a way that the only app we've connected is Google Drive, where all our scripts and video files are. This way, while writing scripts or just brainstorming, we don't have to check stuff manually. ChatGPT does it for us in a second. It saves us a ton of time. 11. Turn on all capabilities. ChatGPT can do lots of things, so to take full advantage of its capabilities, be sure to turn on all of its features. Click on Customize ChatGPT and lots of things. He does it for us in video file. The workflow in my YouTube agency is set up in such a way that way when chat is smooth. Give from your files. Just go to settings, then connected apps, and log into your account when prompted. Here's a quick tip to keep things smooth. Give your files clear, descriptive names and organize them in folders with labels that make sense. That way, when ChatGPT pulls a file, it knows exactly what it's working with. The workflow in my YouTube agency is set up in such a way that the only app we've connected is Google Drive, where all our scripts and video files are. This way, while writing scripts or just brainstorming, we don't have to check stuff manually. ChatGPT does it for us in a second. It saves us a ton of time. 11. Turn on all capabilities. ChatGPT can do lots of things, so to take full advantage of its capabilities, be sure to turn on all of its features. Click on Customize ChatGPT, and below Custom Instructions, you should see a few toggles. Turn on Browsing to give ChatGPT internet access, DALL-E to be able to generate images, and Code to make it a programmer. Without these, you're really only tapping into the writing assistant side, which is cool, but way less powerful than what ChatGPT can do. Oh, and don't forget to leave Enable for new chats. Turned on so you don't have to redo settings every single time. No.
Northern Data is powering that progress with best-in-class hardware and technologies. We've been operating high-performance computing infrastructure
Number 12, be sure to set up formatting rules. ChatGPT can format responses in all sorts of ways, but sometimes it just doesn't quite hit the mark. So here's the move. Each time you prompt, specify exactly how you want it formatted. Need a step-by-step guide, ask for it. Want an essay or a bullet list, spell it out. You can go as detailed as you want. Lists, tables, paragraphs, whatever suits the task. This little tweak saves you from getting responses that feel off track or mismatched with what you need. Lucky number 13 coming up. Ask ChatGPT to explain something to a 10-year-old. This one's a personal favorite because it keeps things simple, clear, and to the point. If you're struggling with a complex topic,
New AI tools come out every day. I test a lot of them, but very few make the cut into my permanent stack. The ones that do tend to be tools that save the most time. Saving 3 hours a day saves you over 1,000 hours per year, and for a lot of people, AI is already able to do that. An exercise I recommend everyone do is over the course of like a week, write down all your most time-consuming tasks, then set aside a day to find the best AI workflow to assist or even fully automate those tasks. Many people will find that they're able to save multiple hours a day. I'll go through a big list of tools across different use cases to help us that. So a lot will apply to you, some won't. Let's get into it. Google felt like they were behind in AI for a while, but have been dropping some amazing stuff recently. A lot of it is completely free. I'll cover a couple of the biggest time savers for me. I'll start with Google AI Studio's real-time AI assistant. It can be used for a lot of things, and it's awesome, in particular for learning new software. This is at aistudio.google.com. There's a lot of other tools in here, mostly for developers, but anyone can use this one right here that says Stream Real Time. Your first time doing this, there will be some approvals to allow it to access your microphone and screen. Now I'll click Start Recording. Then select Video Source and pick the window I want, which will be this one with Adobe Premiere. All right, I have Premiere Pro opened up. How can I remove this background?
Sure, you want to remove the blue background in the video. You can do this by using the Ultra Key effect in Premiere Pro. Would you like to know how to do that?
Yes, where's that?
Okay, the Ultra Key effect can be found in the Effects panel. Do you know how to get to the Effects panel?
Is that down here where it says Effects?
Yes, that's the one. Now, if you type Ultra Key in the search bar, you can find the effect. Do you know where the search bar is?
Yep, I see Ultra Key here.
Great, now drag that effect onto the video clip in the timeline. Would you like me to guide you through the rest of the steps?
Yeah, what's next? The background is still there.
Okay, now go to the Effect Controls panel at the top left of the screen. There, you should see the options for the Ultra Key effect. Click the eyedropper icon next to the key color option, and then click on the blue background in the program monitor.
Okay, yeah, that removed it pretty well, but it looks a bit hazy still.
Got it. It looks like it's
It looks a bit hazy still.
Got it. It looks like it's a bit hazy. You can adjust the matte generation settings in the Ultra Key effect to refine the key. Do you want me to help you with that? You can use the Essential Sound panel to clean up.
You get the idea. That's incredible. It answers almost instantly, and you can interrupt and clarify when needed. An expert real-time tutor to help you learn anything has been one of the dreams in AI. It is not all the way there yet. It will still make plenty of mistakes, but it will be right and save time quite a bit. And YouTube won't always have like the specific scenario you need, or sometimes you don't even know what you need to look up to achieve something. And on your phone, you can do the same thing, but using the camera. Maybe you have some homework you need a tutor for and are totally not just cheating. You could have it walk you through a science experiment, help you set up furniture, understand documents, all sorts of stuff. Just like the vision feature in ChatGPT, but real time instead of uploading photos. Another one from them is Google Gemini Deeper Research. It's an agentic model that will take multiple steps to deeply research a topic. Here's an example. I actually just got a PRP injection in my shoulder a few days ago. I did a ton of research into it beforehand, but here's how I could have done that in here. So I'll make sure deep research is selected from the dropdown, then add a prompt. Provide a detailed summary of platelet-rich plasma injections for shoulder-related conditions with a focus on tendinopathy. Include potential risks and current clinical evidence. Highlight any recent advancements or controversies specific to shoulder treatments. Also, compare the outcomes of PRP injections with corticosteroid treatments for musculoskeletal conditions. So I'll send that. It thinks for a second, then it shows me its plan. It has 8 steps it will walk through. I can edit that if I'd like to, but I'll start it as is. Now, it starts its research. It's researching 27 websites. That seems like a lot, but it's actually on the low end for what it usually uses. This will be over 100 websites a lot of the time. I chose a pretty simple example. It's got some PubMed, what looks like some different clinics, a bunch of other journals. Looks like a solid list. I'll come back when it's done. All right, that took around 3 minutes, and here's what it came back with. This is an incredibly comprehensive report based on these findings with what it is, how it works, side effects, treatment protocols, risks, effectiveness, comparisons. There's a lot in here, which basically confirms the reasons why I got the treatment already, but deep research is well named. And I was able to tailor it specific to my situation with my shoulder rather than all PRP uses. This isn't for just random one-off questions that you might pop into ChatGPT or Google, but it is incredible for deep research. And the use cases are endless. And this is part of Gemini Advanced, which comes with a lot of other features, but does cost $20 a month after a 1-month free trial. There are, of course, endless ways to use ChatGPT to save time, so in the description will be a free ChatGPT resource bundle provided by HubSpot. There's a total of 5 PDFs that go in depth on how you can utilize ChatGPT in your career, and it was just updated for 2025. There's one that walks through a process similar to how I mentioned to find your most time-consuming tasks AI can help with, but it's a much deeper and more step-by-step guide to do that. But my favorite in here is called Supercharge Your Workday with ChatGPT. It covers specific examples of how ChatGPT can be used in various industries: sales and marketing, customer support, time management and task organization, personal development and learning. It walks through step by step with different tips, and I really like the section titled 100 Ways to Try ChatGPT Today. It has 100 sample prompts you can use and modify. No matter what career you have, there's sure to be a bunch in there that apply. And keeping in line with this video, prompt templates like that are another way to save a ton of time. Again, that resource is completely free. Just use the link in the description to go download that. I'm always happy to partner with HubSpot to provide free resources to the people that watch this channel. But back on the free end from Google is Notebook LM, which I've covered extensively before, but they have some new features since then. It's another personalized AI-powered research assistant. DeepSeek R1 came out the other day and blew everyone away, so I uploaded a PDF of the research paper, a link to the GitHub, and a couple websites about it in here. You can also upload YouTube videos, or I'll even use PDFs of an entire book I'm reading sometimes. It can take in a lot of information. But now I can have it summarize all the information, or even more helpful is I can ask a question, then it will give me an answer and cite exactly where that information came from in my uploads. I can also create a study guide that will give me a quiz with an answer key, essay questions, and a glossary of key terms. I could also create a briefing doc, FAQs, a timeline, or the most unique option is the podcast feature. You can add prompts to customize and guide what they talk about if you'd like. Then this will generate a full podcast all about the topic. With the new interactive mode, you can also jump into the podcast and ask a question. They'll answer that, or you can steer the conversation in any direction you want.
Yeah, I'm excited to dive in.
And what's really interesting is how they're achieving this reasoning in AI. It's quite a departure from how things are normally done.
Yeah, usually we think about AI being trained on, these massive data sets, like feeding it, the entire Library of Congress or something, and that's how it learns. But that can be really expensive and time consuming. And what happens when it encounters something outside of that data set, something totally new, it's not going to be able to adapt very well.
Exactly, and that's one of the limitations that DeepSeek's team has been really focused on addressing. They've created this model called DeepSeek R10. And the really
So I uploaded a PDF of the research paper, a link to watch this channel. But back on the free end from Google is Notebook LM, which I've covered extensively before, but they have some new features since then. It's another personalized AI-powered research assistant. DeepSeek R1 came out the other day and blew everyone away, so I uploaded a PDF of the research paper, a link to the GitHub, and a couple websites about it in here. You can also upload YouTube videos, or I'll even use PDFs of an entire book I'm reading sometimes. It can take in a lot of information. Now I can have it summarize all the information, or even more helpful is I can ask a question, then it will give me an answer and cite exactly where that information came from in my uploads. I can also create a study guide that will give me a quiz with an answer key, essay questions, and a glossary of key terms. I could also create a briefing doc, FAQs, a timeline, or the most unique option is the podcast feature. You can add prompts to customize and guide what they talk about if you'd like. Then this will generate a full podcast all about the topic. With the new interactive mode, you can also jump into the podcast and ask a question. They'll answer that, or you can steer the conversation in any direction you want.
Yeah, I'm excited to dive in.
And what's really interesting is how they're achieving this reasoning in AI. It's quite a departure from how things are normally done.
Yeah, usually we think about AI being trained on, these massive data sets, like feeding it, the entire Library of Congress or something, and that's how it learns. But that can be really expensive and time consuming. And what happens when it encounters something outside of that data set, something totally new, it's not going to be able to adapt very well.
Exactly, and that's one of the limitations that DeepSeek's team has been really focused on addressing. They've created this model called DeepSeek R10. And the really fascinating thing is it was trained using only reinforcement learning, no labeled data at all. Whoa, did someone just break the fourth wall? Let's hear it.
And they open sourced the whole thing, right? Can you speak about that for a minute?
Absolutely. And it's a really key part of what makes DeepSeek stand out.
Yeah, it's not just the technology itself, but the way they're sharing it with everyone.
The fact that they've made their models and research open source is a big deal. It really sets them apart.
It's kind of like they're saying, here's what we've done. Now let's all build on it together.
Those are the best options from Google that I wanted to cover. Now I'll jump through some other tools a lot faster. They're across different use cases, so some may or may not be related to what you need. With Gamma, just write a text prompt and it will generate an entire beautiful presentation with engaging text and relevant images. There are other tools that do this, but Gamma has been my favorite one. You can also create documents and websites with Gamma, but I've primarily used it for presentations. Now, if you need a coding assistant, Cursor is the leading tool right now. You can build and deploy fully functioning apps without any coding knowledge, all just from prompting. Then you go back and forth for any changes you need. I don't have time to go into that much here, and I'm definitely not an expert at this anyways. Riley Brown has a bunch of videos on building cool stuff with it. There's lots of channels with deeper dives into Cursor to go check out. Complementary to that is Wizard, which is ideal for creating UI mockups, wireframes, and designs quickly using AI. You can generate from text, turn a screenshot into an editable mockup, or a hand-drawn sketch into a digital design. Then through prompting, you can iterate quickly, add or modify components, and for a powerful combination, you can export the code snippets and pass them into Cursor. So Wizard can create the entire visual design quickly, then Cursor can handle the backend logic and fine-tune it all. You can do this all without any deep technical skills. The ability to easily build out apps that you can customize exactly to your liking is incredible. Whether that's like a personalized app just for your own use, or to build for deploying publicly. The entire SaaS world is changing rapidly with all these new tools. Napkin AI is amazing for creating graphics and visuals from text. They just came out with a big update that's faster and has a lot more designs. It's super easy to use and is still completely free as of the filming of this video. I'll do an example I used before so I can see how the new update compares. You can upload your own information, or I'll use AI to help with this one. 5 things most likely to cause the AI apocalypse in order of likelihood. All right, there's a solid list. I'll start with just the first one. I'll click the lightning button, and here's a bunch of visuals I can cycle through. A lot of these look awesome. Then if you find one you like, there's additional styles for each. So there's tons and tons to choose from, and the colors are all fully customizable as well. I could also highlight all the text and do it for all 5. We'll give that a try. And now there's a bunch more really solid visuals. And I think these are awesome to use in videos. I can download one, then blur out parts and add some zooms. And now it's an amazing looking, really engaging graphic that I made in just a few seconds. Using an AI meeting assistant can be a huge time saver. There's a lot of options out there. I've tested a few. My favorite was Otter, especially if you're looking for something user-friendly with a shorter learning curve. On the more advanced side, with a lot more features and advanced functionalities, I liked Fireflies. But these all work similarly, integrating into Zoom, Google Meet, and Microsoft Teams. It will transcribe your full meeting, then give you a summary. And then you can search the text to play back the audio at adjustable speeds, then tap the words to jump to different spots. It can highlight key points to review later. It has automated slide capture it will insert into the notes. It's super helpful if you have a lot of meetings to be able to review them, but also to be able to stay focused and attentive during the meeting. And there's further use cases depending on what you do. Like if you or your team do a lot of sales calls, you could ask to identify weak points in the process or to find common objections. If you need more advanced uses like that, I'd recommend Fireflies. This next one is a big one if you have a YouTube channel. I have a Flux LoRa trained on my face, and anytime I want an image of myself in any setting or pose, I can just prompt for it. I use this on Replicate, and I've taught this multiple times on this channel, so I'll link to a longer video if you need it, but it's really easy to do. Basically, you just need at least 10 images of yourself from different angles and expressions. You upload those, then name it, and select a few dropdowns. It costs around $5 to train, which you only need to do once. Then it's just a few cents after that anytime you need to generate an image. You can easily make amazing, unique thumbnails without setting up your camera and lighting every time. It's awesome. Another research assistant that probably everyone watching this channel knows by now is Perplexity. I mainly use Perplexity because of its speed at finding things like stats, research, or quotes I may need for a video. Although I don't have the Pro plan anymore, all I need is the free. And I have actually started to move back to ChatGPT for a lot of this since their native search feature has gotten so much better, but now displays images and sources. It does a lot of what Perplexity has been really good at. I debated on still including it in this video, but for some use cases, you may find it to be the best tool. And they are starting to implement actions with Perplexity Assistant. You can ask it to play a specific song. It can help book a restaurant. You can search with Vision, which is a nice upgrade. ChatGPT came out with operators as well. Overall, agents like this, even though there's a lot of hype around them, they're not there yet for anything practical. I do think it's a good idea to mess around with them to get a feel for how AI interacts with websites on its own, just for learning's sake and to stay ahead of the curve. One day we may have a dashboard of agents we're overseeing and just kind of watching for mistakes and places to intervene and nudge, but I think we're a ways out from that. But sticking with LLMs, these are the type of AI tool people are generally the most familiar with, but it's also one of the biggest time savers for me personally, and I assume could be for most people too. This is an area where, like I mentioned at the beginning, if you write down your most time-consuming tasks, there is very often a way that AI can automate or assist with those tasks, and LLMs are the most common solution. The top two I use are Claude and ChatGPT. Claude is my go-to writing assistant, although ChatGPT has definitely gotten better at creative writing, but I don't think it's as good as Claude yet. There's other writing tools like Jasper, Lex, WriteSonic, Copy, and tons of others. If there's a specific type of writing you do a lot, you may want to find one that's tailored for that. They typically all use Claude or ChatGPT under the hood, but they just have solid prompt engineering and a nice UI on top of it. For me, I just do my own prompting and have never felt the need for a specialized writing tool. Typically, I just get outlines and do the bulk of the actual tone and writing myself anyways. With ChatGPT,
So I think that's it for today. I'm gonna stop recording. It didn't mean I'm gonna stop learning, but or reading or whatever I'm doing, but I'm just gonna stop recording and hope to continue tomorrow as well. By the way, I'm just confused. Like, what is the most things I'm doing in record? I'm just try to document my learning journey. That's all. No less, no more. And نسخ الرنو.